Let's get update on the commodities market space with Bolande Abaje. Hi, Bolande.
Hi,
Good morning.
morning.
Well, I'm sure you're listening to my conversation with Mr. Ijewere. I don't know if you saw that report by these two United Nations agency warning about the likely farming in some sub-Saharan African country and, of course, Nigeria in particular, talking about the Northeast. So, how do you relate this with the movement in commodity prices that we've seen so far? I mean, onion seems to be a commodity you cannot afford at the moment, and then tomato, you know, and these things are becoming very expensive even as we're entering the festive season,
Yes.
and they are the commodities that are needed.
Yes,
at the moment.
So the evidence is there with the hike in commodity prices. Commodity prices are skyrocketing at the moment. Over 50% of our agricultural products come from the northern eastern part of the country. And obviously with the situation of the COVID-19, the NSAS protest, we saw, the flood problem as well. You know, the insecurities that have been going on within the northern region, that has also played or had significant negative impacts on our production within our local production within Nigeria. And obviously the fact that we've had the culture of the importing, you know, some of these agricultural products over the past few years, although the government has, you know, looked at different ways to make sure that they don't they work on the import substitution effect of agricultural products. But yes, definitely, it's rightly said that, you know, we should expect this kind of famine. And I think the government will also take it as a warning to make sure that they don't get into that, you know, space, because it's so hard to come out of it.
So, but your slide talked about free flow of food trucks into Lagos State in the coming weeks to gradually taper food prices. How so?
Well, you know, obviously, when we had the lockdown, the second NSAS protest lockdown, that also hampered or hindered, you know, production, not necessarily production, but flow of the logistics aspect of agricultural products. And now that we're seeing resumption back into more or less a full resumption of, you know, offices, you know, there's movement of people, goods around the economy, and also the fact that the government is hampering on fixing some of these roads. Like on my way here, I saw that, you know, some of the roads were being fixed. That should obviously contribute positively to...
Mr. Ijewere talked about that, the need for the government to fix the roads, particularly the roads that would transport those food commodities.
Yes, and heavy trucks, heavy diesel trucks to the main areas of consumption. So that, you know, that's the reason why we've mentioned that, you know, in the coming weeks, we should see free flow of trucks too.
And is that going to have any likely impact on the inflation numbers?
It should. It definitely should, because what happens according to supply and demand, once you see increase in supply of some of these agricultural products, we should actually see prices taper down a bit. But at the same time, it also has to be a case where we watch how demand plays out as well. Although pockets have been squeezed, we don't expect demand to be as buoyant as it was last year. But definitely the supply impact should have a significant drawdown to prices.
All right, Bolande, just hold your thoughts there. We'll continue with this conversation.
Okay.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will continue with this conversation. Just stay with us. We're still talking commodities, and Bolande Abaje is here. Well, let's look at the global scene. Of course, one big news yesterday, Pfizer coming up with a possible
potential
vaccine breakthrough. That's good news.
It is.
And that lifted the commodities markets. Brent went up, and
a variety of commodities reacted positively.
And the stock market, of course.
Yes.
And well, with Brent up, that's good news for Nigeria. But one would wonder how sustainable that is, particularly if U.S. President-elect Joe Biden perhaps restores deal with Iran.
Well, if Biden restores deal with Iran, we don't expect it to be as harsh as the way Trump reacted towards oil production or the economic sanctions to Iran. I think the Iranian government is quite positive. They have a positive outlook when it comes to Biden's elect, and they do expect that it wouldn't be they would be able to boost production and increase exports as a result. But however, we do have the fact that the positive news from the vaccine and the president-elect has boosted oil prices to about $43. But one needs to remember that even if the vaccine has been approved, or there are chances that the vaccine will contribute to reducing 90% of COVID cases, this impact wouldn't be felt until most likely the end of 2021. And that's a long time from now. So when you look at the short term, we don't expect oil prices to trade much higher than this. And coupled with the fact that, the OPEC Plus have mentioned that in their November 30th meeting, they're most likely going to, cut the quota.
And then have you considered, again, the lockdown that we're seeing?
The fresh lockdowns that we're seeing as well. So demand has been, halted a bit once again. And we don't expect that oil prices would inch up as high as, this is the signal effect of the news that we're hearing. And most times signal effects only last for a couple of, a very short while. Okay,
talking about oil and then looking at Nigeria-US trade relations, how do you see Biden's win impacting on that?
Well, Biden's win is most likely going to be positive because he's a Democrat. Democrats usually approach this kind of thing differently. They're not so harsh on, curbing or increasing production within the U.S. government. I think he would most likely cooperate and collaborate with the OPEC Plus and,
so
look for the benefits.
In shale production.
Yeah, no, definitely. He will definitely, look into, protecting the American economy, definitely. But we do expect that he would, alongside, collaborate with, OPEC Plus on ways that they can increase oil prices, because it will also benefit, the oil producers within the U.S. economy.
All right, let's look at another issue there. Tanzania's gold export value up 45.8% in 12 months. What does that mean for Nigeria?
Well, the beginning of this year and late last year, we had seen a lot of investors move towards the safe haven gold due to the level of uncertainty. And Tanzania has benefited from this, both by increasing volume of gold and, the fact that, increase in supply of gold has increase in demand for gold has also pushed prices. So they've definitely benefited a lot from this and worked on, eating most of the benefits. And also we have the fact that Gabon as well has increased its production of palm oil and rubber. And one thing to point out there is that Gabon is the 8th largest producer of oil in sub-Saharan Africa. So they've moved far ahead of Nigeria in the process of, diversifying away from oil. They've recognized that, oil is not going to benefit their economy. As at last year, oil contributed about 35% towards their gross domestic product. And as at now, they're seeing significant increase, about 109% in palm oil and about 64% in rubber, which is great news. They're working as hard as they can to push other agricultural products. And it's something Nigeria needs to focus on, because we're also one of the biggest producers of palm oil. We have palm oil in the likes of Delta and, some of these eastern states. And it will definitely hamper, what we can do in the export space.
Now, we've seen the move by the federal government to disburse about 195 billion naira to 270 exporters under the EEG program. Perhaps that's a way to also encourage and support agri-exports.
Yeah, I know they're working very hard to make sure that, they protect the likelihoods of the exporters within Nigeria. But I think we need to do much more than, as much as they're introducing these grants, one has to also follow up and make sure that, these exporters are also exporting the right standards of some of these products, because I think that's where the major issue is.
All right. Thank you very much, Bolande.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Bolande Abaji is one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company.